Hello, hello, hello.
Hi.
On this beautiful sunny day. And we're so lucky because an hour ago it was just raining
With a lot of wind.
with a lot of wind. And now we're here suddenly sitting in the sun in beautiful Amsterdam for another new episode of the Good Place interview series. And I was quite excited to finally meet you. We've been in touch for some weeks. I'm here joined by Garo, if I pronounce it well. And we don't know actually each other. We got in touch through Instagram, and he shared his beautiful work with me. And I was like, yeah, I would love to know more about your work, about you as a person. And you tell me where you want to meet me. And you chose this public bench in Amsterdam Oost, I think, officially.
Next to the water.
Next to the waterfront. And I'm happy the weather is cleared up and the sun is shining.
Yeah.
Makes everything look a lot nicer.
Definitely.
Not just your face, my face, but even the surrounding. So yeah, this is beautiful. Let's take it away. For those who don't know the channel, it's envisioned to have conversations with strangers, not even people that I know, about, have an invitation about why they moved to the place that they live in and why they're here and why they're still here. And the good place is also about, are you in a good place in life? And these conversations can be honest. Even if you're not in a good place, that's also fine to share. But it's an open format, so you can share as much or as little as you want. I give the floor to you. Would love to give the bench to you. Garo, please introduce yourself. Who are you and where are you from?
First, I want to say that I really appreciate what you're doing, because I know how much energy it takes to talk to people and tell their stories, and at the same time how much of yourself you have to put in this work. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
My name is Garo. I'm Armenian, born and raised in Lebanon, and I moved here to the Netherlands 6 years ago. Before this, I was in Brussels. I was doing my master's in food design.
All right.
Yeah, and now I'm here. It's been 6 years, full on, and yeah. What else do I have to say?
Do you have a good time?
I do have a good time. I love Amsterdam. I mean, aesthetically, it's really one of the most beautiful cities I've been to. It is, I'm not going to say harsh, but it is a bit different than what I am used to in terms of Mediterranean culture.
Yeah.
It took me some time to adjust, to learn, or not take things for granted, like the weather, for example. We are used to having the sun 9 months a year, and here, the moment you have the sun, you have to do something to benefit from that, like
You run out of your house.
Exactly. Or you feel bad when you're at work. You want to be outside. I love
because
Amsterdam.
where you so you grew up in
Beirut.
in Beirut.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, of course, in Beirut, it's always nice weather, almost.
Definitely. Yeah. We do have winters, like also the winters can be quite harsh, but then it's very short. It's 3 months max, and it's gone.
How's life in Beirut? I don't know anything about it.
Listen, it's one of the most beautiful countries I know. One of the most beautiful people, the most hospitable, the most friendly people. Like you would go to Lebanon as a foreigner, you wouldn't feel as a foreigner. I know a lot of people there, for example, that went to do a master's or something, but they stayed. There's a huge community of expats over there. However, with the events of the past few years, it's quite bad economically. The country collapsed.
Yeah.
Every time I call my dad, for example, they don't say we're doing good anymore. They say we're surviving. It's like a survival mode. When You don't have, you are not allowed to withdraw your money from the bank when there's no security, especially everything that's going on in the region as well. It affects on Lebanon heavily. It's a neighboring country, Israel and Palestine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it got even worse.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's the thing. At some point, you talk to the Lebanese people, but you ask them how are things, and they're like, we're at the bottom, and then worse things happen again. You know, like nothing worse can happen than this, and then another situation arrives. So this is what they're dealing with right now. It's difficult being away.
From your family. Yeah.
From your family and also from your country that you cherish, and like for example, also for me it's quite personal because of my work. I try to put a lot of my background on the table.
Yeah. Because for the people who don't know, you're a chef.
I'm a chef. I was a chef, and then I did my master's in food design. Yeah. Do you want me to explain what that is?
Yeah, sure.
Or am I jumping?
Yeah. No, because you're just saying you're putting your background on the table.
Yes. So
Which can also be, can imagine that's also very difficult because with everything that's happening back home,
of course.
and then you try to show the beautiful side of it in food.
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And another aspect of it is that every time people who live abroad know this, every time you need to reconnect, you need to recharge, you have your base that you go back to. And this is something difficult that us as a Lebanese community were feeling abroad, is that you can go anytime you want, of course, but then you don't want to risk it. You don't want to go in that situation where you are not fully integrated, also because of the fact that after the big explosion in Beirut, for example, people are definitely living a post-traumatic phase, and you see this collective depression, collective pain.
Yeah.
And you as an expat abroad, you feel that pain, but you didn't live it. So it's an added layer to your suffering, which is quite something, I have to say. I mean, I'm not comparing myself to the people that are living in Lebanon, of course not, but then it's very different. Yeah.
Yeah, because you weren't part of that pain.
No.
Because you moved here 6 years ago.
Exactly.
Yeah. Have you gone back ever since?
Yes, I was there 2022.
Okay.
October, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, it's not too long.
No,
that was after the big explosion.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. But how do you how do you deal with it in your life in Amsterdam? You put your head in your work, so you don't think about it, or it completely distracts you of what you do.
I do think about it, but then what I decided after a certain period is that these things, the unexpected aspects in life are gonna happen, are gonna change your course. So what I decided is my duty, let's say, because of my Armenian Lebanese background, my duty is to represent that culture through food. And I think I do a good job in the sense that I stick to what I know best, and then I try to tell the stories. You know, like every time I travel, for example, I do travel on the mountains, gathering different stories, because each recipe also comes with a story. You know, like it's a recipe passed down through family. It's whether it's also every village has its own version of the same dish, for example.
Yeah.
That makes it very special. And then when you have Israel and Lebanon, for example, or all the countries in the region fighting over who created hummus, for me, I'm like, we have much better things to deal with, you know, because like food is regional, it's geographically distributed. These people lived together there, and then whatever the ingredients were provided by that geography,
Yeah.
these people use them to create a cuisine for them. And that is it. Throughout the years, whatever happened, whoever country came, that's not the question. The question is how that cuisine was developed. Why is it that Lebanese cuisine, for example, has a lot of grains because of poverty, you know? Or in the south of Italy, why do we eat a lot of pork? Because it was the cheapest animal,
meat,
and then they used to use the entire animal from the ears to the blood. And so these are the stories I dig deep, and those are the stories I try to put on the table.
On the table.
With every plate that I do. And
That is also then your signature.
it is, but my signature, I realize, which is in Lebanon, it wouldn't be a signature, is that the sharing style, meze style table. But of course, I do it in my own way. I start with a meal, and then there's nothing on the table, and then people go a bit crazy of what's wrong. Or for example, one of the dinners I started with risotto. Who serves the risotto as a first course, you know? And and then you remove the plates, and then there's this feast that goes on the table, and then we sit, all of us, have dinner together, like this communal feast. And
breaking bread.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I do start the dinner with bread made in the pizza oven, where people literally have to break that to start a conversation, whether it's with the person in front of you or next to you, because often my tables are one long table. Yeah.
So can we save the world with food, Garo?
I think we can. I definitely think we can.
So putting our differences aside, our conflicts aside.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing to answer your question, in Italy, I'm part of right now an agriturismo that we're building with one of my close friends, Sarah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and it's in a village an hour and a half away from Napoli. 1,000 inhabitants
that live there.
Exactly. And I think, I mean, obviously it got less and less throughout the years because of the young people going to university, going back to the big cities. And for 1,000 people, with whatever infrastructure you have there, the village already existing, you can survive, you know, like that is already a big change that you can live off grid. You have your cheese factory, you have your butcher, there are multiple ways to do electricity for 1,000 people without having to use fossil fuel. And I think we can even in Amsterdam, even in big cities. So how do we live at the end of the day? We live in communities, you know, we find our circle and then we start sharing knowledge or whatever. And then eventually, ideally, we have to start sharing resources to advance, because that's the only way, I think.
And locally produce.
Exactly. And seasonal. Just look around and see whatever the colors are in that season.
So you eat what the season brings you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and not that only what's always available.
Absolutely.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
And what's also interesting is that you here in the Netherlands you create experience in the forest, in the woods.
Yeah.
Could you please tell us a bit more about what that little nugget is that you have there in the woods?
So
it's more like an escape.
Yeah, it's a retreat. We're building a psychedelic retreat. I am part of the core team. I am the head chef and the customer experience designer. What we do is we host different, institutes maybe, of psychedelic therapy.
Okay.
And in the past 5 years, I've been working with psychedelics on a personal level and with these retreats. So we provide our space for them as a forest, as a nature, to come and do their therapy, whether it's 3 days or 5 days. And I design an experience for them around fire and with food, with whatever we harvest from the forest. We have our own regenerative vegetable garden. We have a food forest that a lot of it comes from there. Wild stuff, of course.
Yeah.
And next to us there is an 800-acre forest as well, where we go and forage multiple stuff throughout the year. So it's an interesting way, because, for example, also for me coming from Lebanon, the seasons are different there. So the vegetables or the fruits that you are used to is different.
Yeah.
So having that background, coming here and adapting that to the Dutch seasonality, was something very interesting for me too.
It's almost fusion.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is, in its own way, of course. Yeah.
And why in the woods? Because I'm also apart from the fact that you're serving experience there, and you also take people out of a certain environment, right?
Definitely.
And place them somewhere remote, off the grid, quiet. But your life also happens here in Amsterdam.
That's the thing.
Is that you're trying to look for a mix?
That I'm trying to find my balance, because I did live in the forest for 2.5 years, full on. I mean, obviously I was coming for the weekends to Amsterdam or whenever there is.
Yeah, so you lived over there?
Yeah, in a tiny house.
In a tiny house.
The thing is, at some point I started realizing that I needed to be closer to nature, to understand what I'm eating, to understand where everything is coming from, or the process behind it,
Yeah.
And it was also during COVID. Nothing was working at that time. Depression, doing small jobs here and small jobs there, making ends meet barely.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was the time for me to reconnect and see what it is that I missed, or what it is that our collective memory lost throughout the industrialization of the world. And I do say collective memory because all of these things, when you go back to the basics, it comes back naturally. You don't, of course, there's a lot of knowledge there, but a lot of them happen very naturally, like planting vegetables or seeding, for example. You don't necessarily have to know how to do that. But you read a couple articles or a couple pages in a book, but then when you are there, it feels natural. And the moment I saw that, I was like, yeah, it's time for me to move. I did. It was great. I don't regret a single minute of it, but it was very long. My life...
That was during the pandemic.
Yeah.
You spent...
Towards the end of the pandemic, but also the summers are fine, because my summers are full with my guests, with the retreats. But the winter is just so harsh, because then you also start thinking that we are made to hibernate, because there's there's not a single leaf in the forest. And this is where you start questioning a lot of the stuff of how we're living, how we are leading our lives, our daily lives. And the thing is, because of my job and because of the person I am, my life evolves around my social life.
Yeah.
And there I had no social life whatsoever.
Yeah, that's so the hospital side of you, connecting with people, giving them a good time, a great experience. That wasn't there. Yeah.
So during the winter, depression hit.
The Great Depression.
Yeah, I mean, with the dog and a tiny house, the days are much shorter. It gets dark at 4.
Yeah.
You go home. What are you gonna do? You're not gonna go out in the pitch black or in the forest, So that's why this winter I moved back to Amsterdam. And now now I started going and coming back. I need to find my balance of how to do this from here and on, whether it's here or in Italy.
Or the tiny house here in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So there are like 3 locations you want to divide your time.
No, the tiny house is in the forest.
Yes, exactly. But then there's Amsterdam and then there's Italy,
exactly. Yes.
right?
Yeah. Probably I will move to Italy at some point later this year, because that's... I studied there. I did my culinary school there, and it was love at first sight. Like, it's also very much Lebanese, it's really on the same shore of the Mediterranean. You really can see the similarities. I really felt at home there.
Better climate, better climate.
Exactly.
So somebody
Better
from
climate,
Lebanon
better, produce.
grows better in a warmer
Well,
environment.
there's also the volcanic lands which are rich with minerals. That really makes a difference on how the vegetables in Italy are much better. All those tomatoes, for example, that are known for the pizza sauce or whatever, they come from around the Vesuvius.
Yeah. I've heard about that.
Yeah.
Especially on those used for those pizzas and pizza sauce and all that tomato sauce. Interesting.
Yeah.
But this interview series, of course, is about Good Place,
Yes.
and you already touched upon things like finding your balance.
Yeah.
What is for you that balance, and that for you makes it a good place?
The balance of between the forest and the city life.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And the connection with people.
Exactly, yeah. So with all this comes also the fact that I am growing. The more we grow, the more we realize that the spending time, wasting time, going out for drinks, going out to parties is fun and it's necessary in its limit, but it's not everything. So I've done that in my 20s. Now it really feels like I need to focus on my career is going quite well, but then I need to be more specialized or more focused in one angle to master that aspect of it. So that is it right now, is for me focusing, like withdrawing myself, of course finding the balance there as well, but withdrawing myself and focusing on the path I want to go to.
And you think that's Italy?
Definitely.
That place is
Definitely.
where you find all these factors.
Yes. Or if the situation in Lebanon gets better, the economic and political situation gets better, I would also love to do a sister agriturismo on the mountains in Lebanon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my follow-up question, is that would you see yourself ever then go back to Lebanon?
I would love that.
Yeah?
I would love that. But we're a long way from
that.
fixing the situation.
Yeah. So that is the reality, is that you would actually love to go back home, but you can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hope for you that you will ever get there.
Thanks, man. Thanks, that really means a lot. Because at the end of the day, why do we also move abroad? Like to make a better life for ourselves, make a better living.
You study. To study.
To study, exactly. Yeah. And that's how my journey in Europe started. But yeah, like I cannot go back to Lebanon right now with where I am in my life, making the amount of money that I am making, and going back to the Lebanese minimum wage. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So it sounds a bit snob, but it's not. It is the fact,
there's nothing wrong with taking care of yourself.
Of course.
And follow your dreams.
Yeah, it was a decision I took.
Yeah. And that was 6 years ago. And there's a lot of things that can happen in 6 years' time.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I hit 30. Yeah.
I hit 40.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't look it.
Thanks. I think we should stop the episode right here. No,
Yes.
just kidding. Yeah. I got a kiddo, got a girlfriend. Yeah. But could I say that it keeps me young? I don't know. Makes me smile.
Yeah.
Makes me smile.
Yeah.
And then age or getting old or not doesn't matter.
Whatever makes you happy anyway keeps you young. So family is a lot of the happiness.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure.
Definitely.
So I can also not imagine having my family in a place like Lebanon, which is suffering, and hearing them say that they're surviving every day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would. I can imagine that also takes away some joy of where you're at now and what you're doing at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that really rests me to also to answer that question. Would you say, or could you already say that you are in a good place?
No, I am. Like the last 2 years have been really, really difficult. Apart from my professional path, like this past New Year's, the December 31st was the 10th anniversary of my mom's passing. That was already like a huge trauma that I haven't recovered from. I'm realizing now a lot of the things that I don't finish, or a lot of the things that that hold me back. I'm realizing that at the core of the problem there is something related to that.
Yeah.
So, and then it's also a scary thing to start the work on yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the moment I realized that, I'm like, oh, there's a huge bag over here that needs to be opened and then, examined. So I am not, but I can say that I have the tools to make to be in a good place.
Yeah.
I know which path I need to take, but I'm not for different reasons.
I really appreciate that honesty, because most people that I've had on the bench, they immediately say, yeah, I'm in an amazing place, I'm in a good place.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they're not, because they are,
yeah.
but it's very honest, and that's a bit
to
of
each his own.
Yeah, and to show that kind of vulnerability, say, listen,
Of
no,
course.
I'm not.
Yeah, no,
And that's sometimes even more beautiful,
yeah, but
because we're all a work in progress.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course. And then COVID, for example. Before COVID, I had a really, really nice job running an art gallery, and then which had a restaurant as well. And all of a sudden, COVID came, and then you realize that you spent all that money. You don't have any savings. What do you do now?
Mm-hmm.
You cannot make a living. You have to go and do whatever job it is to make ends meet.
Yeah.
And when you're close to 30, you don't want to go do something that is line work, that doesn't require any knowledge, because you've done that in your early 20s.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm not
the hustle and bustle. Yeah,
I'm not saying it's wrong. Of course not, because we do whatever it is to survive, and I did, and I still do. But it takes away from. I don't know if it's dignity or pride.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you're very passionate about something.
Of course.
So you also feel, so that sometimes I also feel that doing other things to make ends meet, which are not in line with your passion, almost feels like cheating.
Yeah.
It's like pausing your dream.
Yeah.
Which sounds very spoiled. But especially in a place like here, there are so many opportunities and tools out there for you to take on your dreams and to work super hard on them.
Yeah.
So sometimes I try to spend more time on my dreams and put in extra work than losing time doing stuff that I don't like doing, only because we have to pay rent.
Of course.
And sometimes it's not a choice. Absolutely so.
You know what I constantly say? This is a thought that's coming in my mind recently. If us as human beings, we didn't have, this is coming from personal experience, if we didn't have the financial burden on ourselves to survive this life, how much further would we go? Because there are a lot of, in bed at night, a new project comes to my mind, and then it's great and it's needed, for example, in this specific location, in this specific city. Yeah. But then who's gonna finance that? You know? I need to go back and work, make money, work for someone else, make money in order to put it on the side, and to put the money on the side to finance that project. And then along the way, a lot of other bullshit come up,
Yeah, true. But you also know the reality. What's happening back home is that people are not even in a position to dream.
Absolutely. There's no concept of dream anymore.
No.
What do you do?
So we should be also very
grateful.
grateful for being able to actually chase our dreams.
Absolutely.
And having the freedom to design our dreams and so on. And I think that's very much a realization, I think, in comparison to many other people around the world that are in a very, 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 very difficult situation.
Yeah.
That we should be more grateful and more, as long as our intentions are right, and we add value to the world.
Yes.
Go for it.
Yeah, definitely. You said something very beautiful. It's the word intention. It comes up a lot with my work with the psychedelic therapy. Before going into anything, you put an intention to it. And then this comes also from my mom. Before making any cake, before making any meal, she used to put an intention, like this is, if we have guests over, for example, this is for those people. And then it turns out, and then that's the soul you put in the food. And that's what makes it special, because the food is not just the taste, it's also the experience around the gathering that you're. Because what is food if it's not shared? So if you put a nice intention in whatever it is, the universe will listen, I guess.
But then not every meal is the same, because it's different people you serve it to.
Definitely.
Beautiful.
It also affects on my mood, for example. If I'm not in a good place on that specific day, and whether it's a recipe that I make every day, it might not work out. And I know exactly why it didn't work out. That's why I don't try it again on that day, because I know it's going to be shit again.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's a very dynamic food menu you got there.
Absolutely. That's
based on how Garo feels today, it might change.
This is the constant argument I have, is that I'm not sending a menu for the guests. It's first based on whatever the garden is providing me. What if something went wrong? We're not a typical kitchen. I cook most of the stuff with open fire. If this didn't work out, I have to come up with something else at the moment. So I'm not giving you a menu. It's whatever the moment requires. That's a very
but that's also a nice invitation.
Absolutely.
Because then
you come whenever you want.
Yes. We should all come to our, they make it a good place table.
Definitely.
And we invite people over for good place dinners.
Definitely.
Because
let's do one.
Let's do one.
Yeah.
Guys?
Yeah.
You can sign up. Please find the link below. It'll be hilarious.
Yeah.
And Garo, I think we've already moved towards the end of this episode. I'm always a bit cautious and conscious about people's attention span. Although I think this conversation was beautiful. It contained so much depth and wisdom and enthusiasm and passion about your craft and about the message you want to share with the world through food.
Yes.
And I definitely take on the invitation, because then I also want to experience it.
Of course, it will be my pleasure.
I always ask my fellow bench sitter to share a final.
Benchies. Should we create a word?
Benchies. Benchies. You're the official first Benji.
Yeah.
To share a piece of wisdom. It's just a final statement, a final sentence or something. If you have something, you can think about it. I'm going to say thank you to everybody watching and listening to this beautiful episode in the Amsterdam sunshine. Definitely don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us across Apple, Google Podcast or Spotify. It just helps this channel and reaches more people who should see this about life in a particular place and life in general. And the final word is for Garo before we close off.
Yeah. I mean, regarding the wisdom is it's not my thought, but it's
quote unquote.
It's a quote from Bria Savarin, which is a French critic and food enthusiast and writer. He has one of the most important books on food. He says, "Tell me what you eat, and I'll tell you who you are." This is his sentence. and it's so true. You can tell a lot about a community, about a group of people, about individuals, based on what they eat, based on how they live their daily lives. I have to add, we have a visitor.
Hey, Doogie.
I have to add one last thing, is the reason why Good Place touched me a lot is because it tells the stories of different people, and you took this initiative to put it out there, and I connected with it immediately because I also tell stories, but in a different medium. So I said at the beginning, thanks for this, and
I'm gonna shake your hand for that.
It's how do you say, admirable.
Thank you so much, Garo.
My pleasure, anytime.
I have nothing to add to that.
My pleasure.
Wishing you all an amazing day. Enjoy the sun
Ciao.
wherever you are. Ciao.